the basic SEO principles, I don't think they've changed. Actually, they're like, can you make sure that you answer the questions that people have as clearly and as specifically as possible, be useful and provide quality. This has always been, in terms of content, has always been a must in SEO, and it is no different with the rise of generative AI. But for example, the search generative experience, there are a few things that are kind of inspiring and are an area that marketers would like to explore. Something that other SEOs have observed already is that video is becoming very important. Having particularly a solid video strategy would definitely be something to consider and potentially invest in.
I also believe that less people will actually click on articles to read content because they will have the answer straight away. For example, in the new search generative experience, and you will interact with the chats to dive deeper into the topic instead of searching for the answer yourself in an article. So the way we do SEO now should evolve, but I also believe what you said, that the more people use these chatbots and search AI experiences, the more their need to connect with a real human will grow. And that's why YouTube SEO and video podcasting will be a main factor in 2024 and onwards.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Hop webinar. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, I'm joined by two lovely ladies from our team, Anna, who is head of our content group, and Stacy, who is a content and SEO specialist. And we are gathered today to chat about the future of SEO and what will happen in 2024. Very loaded topic, a lot of
Indeed.
things to cover, and I'm sure the two girls will have a lot to share. The reason why we're chatting about that is obviously with AI, things are developing very quickly, and there are a lot of information and misinformation online about what's happening, what will happen, and what are the trends. So I wanted to have the experts on the call to share their point of view and give us their tips and tricks on what's coming. I have a bunch of questions for both of you, and I'm excited to chat about this topic. My first question is kind of obvious, but Annie, what do you think will be the hottest trend in 2024 for content and SEO?
Hottest trend. Well, I really am not going to surprise anybody here by saying AI. It is the big game changer across multiple industries, but especially for SEOs. It is really dynamically changing the search environment, but also some of our processes and the ways that we worked before. So, yep, that would definitely be the biggest trend. And SEOs across different verticals and industries are I think have been for the past year and also in 2024 been very active on just testing, trying, and learning new things that are following the development of generative AI and its effect on search. So that's just going to continue, and it is going to be an exhilaratingly interesting time to be an SEO next year as well.
If you have to dummy down what's happening in the last year or so in the SEO industry, how would you explain the recent development? How is that impacting the general industry and the tactics?
Well, let's try.
Right?
Okay, so the big trend that is happening, or like two big trends that are happening, is search engines are experimenting, but also adapting to users who are interested in exploring generative AI opportunities. So search engines, on one hand, need to adapt because unless they do, they might lose traffic. They might lose users because you can find information just as easily someplace else. You can find information on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on ChatGPT or Bard or any other generative AI tool. So, with that in mind, search engines need to continue to deliver on their promise of being the best place to find information. So they need to adapt. But then users are now kind of returning to a more organic way of interacting to a system. So having a more dialogue based experience instead of shouting out your query into the unknown and then having answers thrown back at you. We're revisiting a bit more organic way of finding information by talking, and people are in general loving that. It's natural, it's organic, and they enjoy that experience, so they are excited about using that. So search engines are trying to adapt to that. And then also because of the interesting opportunities of generative AI, search engines and Google in particular are also testing the capability of Gen AI tools to generate search results. So outside of the user experience, just what is the answer looking like? What is the search engine results page looking like? So Google is testing its exciting search generative experience, and it is causing a lot of stir across beta testers and end users so far, because it's still an experiment. It's still, well, not an experiment, but it's in beta, it's in testing, and it's changing very dynamically. The other thing that is happening with the SGE, with the search generative experience, is that users and brand owners and website owners are mildly concerned that with the use of generative AI within the SERP, your search result page, they might be losing organic traffic. So basically, people might find whatever they're looking for within these AI results, not necessarily having to visit your website. So the basically expanding the zero-click searches to half of your screen or more. So these are some things that have been happening last year and are very interesting, mildly troubling, and very exciting for SEOs. So in the worst case scenario that people might be thinking is there is a risk to your traffic, to your organic traffic, because either people can find information someplace else, like go to ChatGPT. That's what my son did, by the way. So I'm learning by the best. I'm watching and learning from my son. He was learning how to assemble a PC, a machine, and he didn't even consider Googling it. He went to ChatGPT directly. He found all his information on ChatGPT. And this was my first real life example of somebody that actually instinctively does a search first on ChatGPT. Something as complicated as assembling a computer, what parts you need, how should they work with each other. Like his first source was ChatGPT. I was like, okay, this is seriously now a search engine. People are using it. I saw them do it. I can testify to that. So this plus the zero-click searches can, worst case scenario, theoretically lead to loss of traffic. But then there's this whole other kind of counter movement, which is also very interesting for SEOs and also exhilaratingly thrilling and mesmerizing and mildly scary. And it is, what is Google doing, search engines in general, but Google in particular, what are they doing to not lose the game of where search happens? And also to continue delivering on their mission that attracts people to use them, but their mission is to provide the best search experience, the best answers to your question, to be the best search network. So what are they doing to ensure that? And what they're doing, to me, it's almost ironic. So the more generative AI enters the search experience, the more human-focused content, human measured quality of content is becoming important. So these are pretty much like two sides of the same coin. So the more we rely on and we use AI, the more we value the human quality of content. And that's exactly what Google is doing. And I think this is driven directly from its mission to continue to decide what value is. And it can't decide it only based on, I don't know, keywords, backlinks. It has to decide what is valuable based on feedback, on user experience feedback as well. And it's really difficult for an algorithm to judge value, which is why Google has been very kind to publish, like to list publicly how it is educating and training people to check how its own algorithm is performing. So it has this like quality evaluator guidelines that are very detailed. It's a document, PDF, very detailed. It explains exactly what they're asking the people who are testing, is like the human in the loop that are testing how the algorithm is performing. What are they asking those people to be looking at? And one of the major factor that Google has always communicated as important, but again, in these evaluator guidelines, it is stressed as very important, is the framework of the EEAT, the four pillars of quality pretty much that Google is trying to define: expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Now, this sounds mildly theoretical, but the practical effect of this is that, for example, with content updates, which was also a bit of a pushback against the risk of generative AI blends mass-produced content, managing that risk basically. So Google updated its algorithm to stress on the importance of the original high-quality content. Again, just a reminder. By the way, guys, you can publish as much content as you want, but we will reward quality content. This is the point of the algorithm. So these guidelines may sound very, I don't know, broad or unclear, but there are very clear effects for websites. Like, for example, if you're a travel blogger and you write original content, like you travel around the world and you visited Mexico City and you wrote this like really experience-based article about your personal experience in Mexico City, Google needs to find a way to understand that this is actually your opinion, your real experience. The algorithm has to have a way to check this, like maybe connect it with your social media profile, see like, oh, that person really published pictures of that experience. It is a real experience, and distinguish the quality of this content as original created by humans for humans, to distinguish it from an article that is created, regardless is it created using Bard or ChatGPT or Writer, that is entirely, the sole purpose of that article potentially be link exchange, for example. So it's created, from somebody who never visited Mexico City or Mexico at all, sitting on a computer, just regurgitating the contents already there. So Google needs to find a way to distinguish the value difference between the two and reward the original one. So that's one way that Google is kind of, ironically to me, adapting to generative AI with rewarding more human-based content. Another way that we can see the same trend unfolding is the review system update, where again the reviews are kind of checked and tested for, have you actually experienced our product? It's good that you left us a review, but how can I trust your review? The same point there. And what else? The hidden gems content. This is a similar trend where Google was also not a separate algorithm update. It's a tweak of the algorithm again that SEOs were asking, hey, is this done rolling or when it will start rolling? And then Google announced that it's actually been rolled out for a few months now. It was like a bit of a stab in the back. But what it does also is it's trying to uncover, again, firsthand experience, content that is showing your expertise in a certain area, regardless where it is. It could be in forums, it could be in Quora, Reddit, all those kind of community-generated content or user-generated content. Websites are seeing a big rise in Google's algorithms the past few months. It's for the same reason. It's the same
Yeah.
driver that's causing this. Yep.
Yeah, one thing I found interesting is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if Google was prioritizing kind of long format before, now with all of these updates, even a short format content is sometimes showcased on the generative experience. So that's a big shift in also the way content experts need to be writing and thinking about what they are creating. So it's no longer about the quantity, but really about that expertise that's added to any piece of content.
Agree. It's also not really anything new. It's always been about quality. It's been about quality for the longest time. Any other kind of SEO advice that stresses on quantity, you should take it with a grain of salt. It is always about quality. It might take a while to see the results, but you just really need to invest in the quality of your content and actually offer value. Basically, like, are you adding to the conversation that's already in the SERPs?
I actually wanted to ask you, Annie, a follow-up question on the first trend you mentioned, which is that more and more people actually turn to ChatGPT to search for information. Even your old son, who wanted to set up a PC. So yeah, let's imagine that this website that was this real authority on the topic, and the website was basically about PCs or something related to this topic, actually block ChatGPT from taking information from their website to protect this information from being stolen from a tool like ChatGPT and used without citation. So how would this, for example, impact us, the user searching for information while using AI like ChatGPT for it and still taking the quality information if we want to search for?
That's a very interesting question you're asking, Desi. I read a piece of content, I think, on LinkedIn recently by Will Reynolds, and he had this interesting experience. He noticed something in ChatGPT. Like he has a lot of content around, is generative AI platforms is this the new basically playground for SEO? Is this the new place where SEO would happen? If search is moving, or this part of search is diverging and entering generative AIs, then maybe our experiences within these platforms is also an area for SEO optimization and SEO discovery. And yeah, one of his main points is basically getting the citation, being cited, being quoted as the source of this information within the tool. Like, if, for example, if you write something and you ask ChatGPT to answer, like, how do you know that? Where did you find that information from? Then it would return the links that it's referring to. So if your website is one of those links, this is maybe a way for you to be discovered. How many people would actually go into asking ChatGPT, how do you know? But if they do and you are the source, then this is good for you, clearly. I mean, with the hypothesis, people would follow that link, go to your website because you're an authority on the topic, and discover what else you have to offer. So the observation that he had was for, in a case of medical information, for example, people searching for some medical, like, definition of a symptom or something like that, he was surprised to see that in ChatGPT, the top results were actually some random websites, not really top priority websites in that area, informational niche. And he was really surprised by that. So he was trying to understand what is causing this, like why are they kind of ranking in ChatGPT? And what he discovered is that the authoritative websites have actually blocked the ChatGPT bot to crawl their website. So yes, not to basically their content, which they invested in creating to generate new content. So they blocked the bot, from crawling it. So the hypothesis is, would you blocking that bot would also mean that you're losing that opportunity to be found in such platforms. And we don't know yet, but it seems that that makes sense. So I think as a business, you would need to kind of choose between two evils. That would depend really on how you've envisioned the future of your brand. Do you think it is likely that people might discover your content, but then also your website and your services on ChatGPT? If so, by all means, you may want to consider opening it for scrolling. But then if you don't think this is a very likely source of traffic, of people discovering you, and you are very protective of the content that you have invested in creating, and you don't want it to be publicly used for training or just accessed by generative AI and regurgitated in new content, then maybe you want to block it. But it is a case-by-case scenario that you need to consider for sure.
I think there will be also a lot more and more legal implications of this kind of blockage from official sources and unofficial ones. There are quite a few legal cases now. I think New York Times or the Times are currently suing ChatGPT. So I think this is an area which would be very blurry for at least the next few months until there's a set
Yeah,
decision.
just we're all living in interesting times. Things are developing very quickly, and that's the beauty of it, though. Things that we know today are questioned tomorrow, and we need to kind of reevaluate them. And for some of them, honestly, for the basic SEO principles, I don't think they've changed. Actually, they're always the same. They're like, can you make sure that you answer the questions that people have as clearly and as specifically as possible? Understand what these questions are and answer them as quickly as possible. That's and be useful and provide quality. This has always been, in terms of content, has always been a must in SEO, and it is no different with the rise of generative AI. But in terms of, for example, the search generative experience, there are a few things that are kind of inspiring and are probably an area that marketers would like to explore in the coming months in 2024. Something that other SEOs have observed already is that video is becoming very important. Formats of content are very important, but having particularly a solid video strategy would definitely be something to consider and potentially invest in. Because this type of content pretty much immediately gets indexed on Google Discover, and from there very quickly enters SGE. Also, it feeds into this trend that I discussed earlier about human created, made from humans for humans. It's just very authentic, like this, really trustworthy.
Trustful as well. I mean, I would ask a very simple question to ChatGPT, but if there's anything on a more serious topic that I'm interested in, I would be much more inclined to listen to an expert talking about it than just going to ChatGPT and getting some very, very broad and
That's my whole spin to it. I also believe that organic search will decline. Like by that, I mean that less people will actually click on articles to read content because they will have the answer straight away. For example, in the new search generative experience, and you will interact with the chats to dive deeper into the topic instead of searching for the answer yourself in an article. So the way we do SEO now should evolve, but I also believe what you said, that the more people use these chatbots and search AI experiences, the more their need to connect with the real human will grow. And that's why I also believe that YouTube and video as a whole will be one part of how SEO will evolve, because videos have this human connection, a real person talking to you, a real expert. So more thought leaders will use YouTube as a channel to reach their customers, and that's why YouTube SEO and video podcasting will be a main factor in 2024 and onwards, I guess.
Agree, and thank you for adding podcasts as well. I think so too. So I think video, podcasts. Also, this has always been at the core of marketing too. But creating a community around your business, around your brand, a real community, not just creating the impression that there is a community, but actually creating a community. I know it's difficult. It is definitely a big investment, and it needs strategic thinking. It also needs to give, so you can get that love back. But creating such a community would be life-saving for brands, because then the content that this community creates, if it in any way refers to your brand or discusses it, even if it is not all positive, but basically this feedback that you get from the people that are interacting with you is content, and it would give that authentic value and would be rewarded by Google, for example. So if you can find ways to engage with the people that are interested in your services or have already experienced them, and then get their kind of reaction to your product and encourage them to publish it. That would be also very useful for other people to discover you, and hence SEO.
Yeah, and
for
also
being-
you can find ways to incorporate these little snippets of videos with experts inside your website to add on that value that you have as a company, because that's what's gonna differentiate you in a sea of AI sameness. And this is what Google rewards now. Let's say you have specific content with an expert that you record, something like we are doing right now, for example, with this webinar, and you decide to incorporate it in an already well-ranking article, but not well enough to be in the top places of the SERP. So until the search generative experience is launched, this is a winning strategy of how you can actually win more eyes on your article by having this video incorporated inside and just adding expert spin-off on the topic.
Getting approval sign here. Do you think there is a window of opportunity for companies that don't necessarily have this expertise to still put out a lot of AI written content on the SERP for now and probably take advantage, let's say, in the next few months before things really start going towards expertise and videos and all of these things?
I think that happened already last year. A lot of companies did that because it's an irresistible offer, really. If you get a tool that can generate content, how could you not use it? Like, you want to keep pressing that button, say, "Hey, write me another article about that topic." Honestly, I think this should be reviewed case by case. It very much depends on how competitive the search results are in your industry. What is the topic? Or what is the level of quality around that topic that is already out there? It really depends. But in terms of, can we do a little bit more of that before Google wakes up and realizes this is happening? I don't think so. I think Google is very aware that this is happening. And by Google, I mean search engines in general. I'm just using it. It's easier.
Microsoft are not going to be happy about that one.
I'm completely not saying that you cannot use AI to create content. My statement is that whatever you're using, like have you hired a really low quality writer and asked a team of low quality writers that have absolutely no experience and zero understanding about what you actually do, and tasked them to create 1,000 articles a week for you? Or you're doing the same thing with ChatGPT? Either strategy is bad. It has always been bad, and it will continue to be a bad strategy. And the problem is not in the tool. The problem is that you're in the end you're not fulfilling your promise to provide useful information to people that are looking for you. So I think we're just going back to the basics here. Whatever you use, ChatGPT is definitely a very handy tool, and you should be using it all the time because it can save you hours of frustration, honestly. That doesn't mean you can give it a topic, ask it to create 100 reiterations of the same topic and just publish this on your website. The same way you wouldn't ask a writer to do that, for the same reason, really. I think you can still use AI tools, generative and visual content as well, but you have to consider, are you adding value with this content? And if not, you can use the content that ChatGPT would spit out, and then take this as a draft and then go back to your expert and say, okay, this is what I have as a draft. What do you think about that? Give me your thoughts on that. Basically ask them to add their value, their point of view, something that they actually mean, which may not at all be the same as what ChatGPT decided is the truth. Kind of to invite them basically to shorten your time to value, to shorten their process, to create still a lot of content, more than you created last year, but keep up a standard, because otherwise, even if you manage to create tons of bland AI content, next year it wouldn't matter at all. So why do that? I think you should still invest in value.
Yeah, I think that's kind of creating some sort of peace of mind, I think, for a lot of experts, because at the end of the day, even if the tools are changing, the essence of their work is still the same. And I think that's something we should all keep in mind, because I don't know about you, but personally, all of these AI stuff are often stressing me out. And yeah, trying to escape the quantity versus quality kind of debate and having to go for one or the other. I think it's a matter of effectiveness and efficiency of using both, but the right way. Awesome. Do you girls have any other questions or topics which you want to cover, or can we wrap up this conversation?
I think we're good. We can have a second session.
Awesome. Thank you a lot to both of you for joining the session, and
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to the next one. Thank you. Bye.